Welcome back. The humanitarian crisis continues to worsen in the Gaza Strip. The world's top hunger monitoring body, IPC, said the worst-case scenario of famine is unfolding in the enclave, citing rising hunger, related deaths, malnutrition and diseases. While the alert does not constitute a formal famine declaration, it signals an alarming deterioration in food security. The conflict has severely disrupted food supply chains, access to clean water and healthcare services in the region. According to the Ministry of Health in Gaza, more than 60,000 Palestinians have been killed since Israel began its military campaign in 2023. At least 147 people, including 88 children, are reported to have died from malnutrition during this period. US President Donald Trump acknowledged signs of real starvation in Gaza and announced plans to establish food centers with open access to provide critical aid. Responding to the growing pressure, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu paused some military operations and approved additional corridors to allow more humanitarian deliveries. However, UN humanitarian chief said that while the new access routes are a step forward, the overall volume of aid must be significantly increased to meet the scale of the crisis. To get a sense of the ground reality, we're now joined by Farhat Mantoo, South Asia Executive Director at Medicines Sans Frontiers, which translates to Doctors Without Borders. Farhat, thank you very much for joining us. What we're seeing there in Gaza, extremely unfortunate. Some of the pictures that we're putting on our screens right now have been shared by your team. Let me begin by asking you, how would you describe the magnitude of the starvation crisis that's unfolding in Gaza right now?
Thank you for having me. Let me start not with the statistics, but something that I just heard from one of my colleagues. Our colleagues and patients are equally being wasted by the day because of the starvation. What I mean to say by that is that for already many, many weeks now, our staff is going from one meal a day to one meal in 2 days. So this is something that we are witnessing firsthand, where our teams are both a victim and a witness to what's happening on the ground. Now, talking about what we are experiencing in our clinics, a quarter, 25% of patients that we receive in our Gaza clinic are children and pregnant women and breastfeeding women, and they are severely malnourished. That is what we are experiencing in our clinics. And what does that mean is that in the last 1 month, the numbers have gone fourfold. That would indicate the amount of hunger and food scarcity that not only the team, but the patients are experiencing across the Gaza Strip. Allow me to kind of spell it out. What does it mean? So we are talking about a deliberate, a man-made starvation here, where the entry points, the distribution of aid is being controlled, is being without dramatizing it, we're talking about weaponized hunger here and not a hunger crisis per se.
Absolutely. And it's a terrible situation. I'd like to ask you, there is a lot of international attention, condemnation for what is happening in Gaza. But why is that not translating into enough aid, enough safeguards, enough medical treatment for those who most need it?
Unfortunately, we are at a point in time in history where the world is watching, and we are urging all the international leaders, anyone who has influence, to talk about it, not only what's happening on the ground, but actually bring some accountability to it. Just to illustrate what I'm talking about is that we are talking about at this point of time. So we have heard about in the news, I'm sure you must have heard about it, we are talking about airdrops, which is highly inefficient. We're talking about dangerous kind of approach, which is being almost kind of spelled out as a means to address what is going on the ground. For the sake of viewers, let me paint. We are talking about Gaza Strip, which is almost 41 kilometers long. And out of that, as per UN OCHA, we are looking at the 12% of the strip where around 2 million people are trapped. And if we talk about airdrops, we run the risk that some of the pallets may drop on the population. which has happened in the past, thus injuring and being more harmful for the people. Next to that, if these pallets fall outside the area, which are considered to be displacement kind of areas, then what we run the risk is that people are putting their lives at risk for food. And that has happened in last many, many months now, where we had food massacres happening at different food sites.
Right, really shocking and worrying. We've also seen people who are standing by or going to aid collection centers or food collection centers being targeted. Why is this happening?
Well, unfortunately, we are in a point in time where humanitarian aid, is no more impartial. It has been kind of funneled through a military and a political apparatus, which is creating conditions which sustain occupation, which defeat the basic principles of medical ethics, which defeat the basic principles of international humanitarian law. Aid should be provided uh, purely based on the needs, not on the imperative of checking people, seeing and being a means and a condition for displacement. So what
Right.
is happening through, I'm going to talk about Gaza Humanitarian Foundation, which is slightly older than 2 months now. And what we have received in our hospitals and what accounts we have heard from our staff is that more than 1,000 people have been killed while either receiving food or in the way to go to receive the food. So we are here talking about hundreds of people who are risking their life either to die a slow death because of hunger or risk their life and go and collect food and have a bullet in their head. So this
Right.
is where the circumstances we are experiencing on the ground.
Okay, my final question, what would be the extent or the number of children suffering because of malnutrition? And in case the level of aid does not go up, how would the elderly, women and children be impacted in the weeks to come?
Well, the fact is that the bus has left yesterday, not even today. We are talking about malnourishment, and it doesn't need a bag of rice would not solve it. Such conditions need therapeutic and medical treatments. So what we are asking for is opening up borders to allow humanitarian aid, because while the world is talking about airdrops as a solution, just few kilometers away, there are hundreds and thousands of trucks lined up with food, medicine, and nobody is talking of allowing them inside Gaza because the scale of the needs is so massive that airdrops cannot fulfill the needs on the ground. Uh, what we are experiencing is premature babies, and just to illustrate, again, I give you these indicators for you to get an idea of what our teams are experiencing on the ground. In 2023, we had 126 incubators, and today we have 36 incubators. So in northern Gaza, and which would mean that premature babies are sharing incubators, which, if you medically ask, is something that is not acceptable because it is the breeding space for infection. We are left with choices where mothers are coming who are malnourished themselves, and that is the reason we have more premature babies that are being born in the facilities we are operating in.
All right.
Next to that, just give me half a
Sure,
second to
sure, sure.
talk about it, because I think it's very important that if you look at the entire Gaza Strip, there were 36 hospitals. Out of that, 94% of the hospitals are either destroyed or damaged, as per WHO. So we are in a state where the care that is needed for the patients is not available. So a lot of medical evacuations are needed direly for cancer patients, for patients who are acute burn patients. So that is one area where
Right.
I would urge everyone who has influence to be able to talk about it and bring attention to this and make the world act. And I think that's what we are looking for. We're
All
talking
right.
of not witnessing something that we all will be
But
tomorrow
we need
hold
to act.
responsible.
No, that's a very
Yes.
important message to end on. Thank you so much, Farhat Mantoo, for joining us. We've run out of time, but let's hope there is more aid and there is more security of life and food to the people in Gaza. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Global Lens. Thank you for watching. Goodbye.